Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for what is the fourth Rail Bookers webinar online presentation. We are really excited to chat to you today about our top 5 routes to Italy via the Alps. I'd like to introduce myself to you. My name is Sarah Turner. I work in the marketing department here at Rail Bookers, and we've got some great offers for you today that I'm very excited to share. So one lucky person at the end of the presentation is going to win £50 off their next rail holiday with us. And absolutely everybody, as you can see on the screen, is going to be able to access our exclusive attendee discounts. So please do stay tuned until the end, and we'll be announcing that exciting news then. You can see on the bottom of our screen our phone number, 0203-780-2382. Jot that down, and please do give us a call after this webinar or any other day. We'll be happy to talk to you about your next holiday. Just a few words from me before I hand over to my colleague Matt. We'd like to talk to you about why Rail Bookers. They're absolutely amazing things that our customers love about us. Of course, we hope you all know that we are the rail experts. We really do have a fantastic team here made up of what we can only describe as self-confessed train geeks. They really do know their stuff, and they love talking to all of you about your holidays by rail. And another perk is that we can use our inside access with our direct partnerships with rail companies, with hotels across the world to get special rates and availability that aren't available to anybody else. And combining that with our flexibility means that you can book your trip at any time, even if the tickets aren't yet available to the public. With multiple departures on every day, these are non-escorted trips, so it really is up to you. Tailor-make your own holiday. We're really happy to help. And that's the thing. We want to make this hassle-free for you guys. We know it can be complicated with so many routes, trains, languages, providers, but we don't want you to stress. We'll take all of that away, professionally plan your booking, so all you have to do is show up and enjoy the journey. And as testament to that, we're really proud that we've won lots of awards, consumer-nominated awards, as a real testament to our commitment to all of you. So who are we? We are Rail Bookers. We organise independent rail holidays in Europe, in the USA, in Canada, and beyond as well. You can do all types of holidays with us. Of course, scenic rail journeys. I know that my colleague Matt is really looking forward to sharing some of these with you today. If you don't have quite so much time, city breaks are another great option. Just a short getaway made possible by train. You'll be really surprised how far you can go and the options available to you. Of course, we all love luxury and private train journeys. The Venice Simplon-Orient-Express, of course, one of our best sellers. Rail and sail as well. We're seeing a lot of demand for this. Adding on a cruise to your holiday, maybe through Alaska, it's a really popular choice. Lakes and mountains holidays, that's the beauty of the train. It really does take you past some of this amazing scenery. And coast-to-coast USA and Canada as well. Some real bucket list trips that we're excited to offer you. A couple of our top destinations. I know you'll be excited to see Italy there, and certainly we are going to chat to you about that today. Really looking forward to it. Scandinavia as well, Switzerland, Spain and Portugal, really popular at the moment for people booking their summer holidays for next year. A great place to explore by rail. And the USA and Canada as well. As we've said, some really inspiring journeys possible aboard those iconic trains. And just a quick glimpse to tempt you with some of our top itineraries. You can see some amazing multi-city breaks there, down to Spain, all through Scandinavia, amazing train networks making these possible. Italian lakes, you know, obviously we're big fans of Italy here, and all the lakes are very easy to get to by train. Poland as well, and of course, just look at that image of Canada. Really amazing scenery that you can see from the rails. If you have any questions at all during this webinar, please do let us know. We love answering your questions. There should be a text box to the side of your screen where you can input Whatever you like, anything you'd like to ask me or anything you'd like to ask Matt, of course, and we'll get around to answering some of your questions at the end of the webinar. We do normally get loads of questions, so I'm so sorry if we don't get around to answering yours, but don't worry because somebody will be in touch with you at the end of the presentation going forward. So, without much further ado, that's quite enough from me for now. I'll pass you over to Matt Foy. He is our head of customer delivery here, the longest selling rail booker, 11 years. He really does know these packages backwards. King of the train geeks, we like to call him, and he's very, very much a safe pair of hands to talk you through these Italian holidays. So, Matt, take it away.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Hello, everyone, and thanks once again for that. I think it was a glowing introduction, but I'm not sure. So, it's my pleasure to be talking to you all today about some of the wonderful ways that you can reach Italy. Of course, it's such an inspiring destination, so many great cities, great places to visit, and I think one of the beauties about rail travel is that there are so many different ways that you can approach this particular country, and so much great scenery that you can enjoy, which really does make the journey and the travel to Italy. It makes it part of the destination in so many ways. So the first route that I'd like to talk to you about is in many ways, I think, perhaps the rail booker's signature holiday. It's called Venice via the Alps, and it's travel to that great destination of Venice via the Swiss Alps. As you can see from the map on the screen and the information there, this is a 5-day itinerary. It starts in London, London St Pancras, although it could just as easily begin at Ebbsfleet International or Ashford if you happen to live closer to one of those Eurostar stations. But then Eurostar travel through to central Paris, high-speed travel on the TGV Lyria services to Zurich for an overnight stay, and then the next day, that wonderful scenic journey that we'll look at in just a moment, travelling through the Swiss Alps to Venice. After 3 nights in Venice, there's the option to head back home by air to the UK, or if you prefer, you can have an extra night, spending a night in Turin, and then travel back through the French Alps to Paris, and then back through to London. So here is Zurich, and this is where we spend the first night of this particular itinerary. You can see here some shots of Zurich's old town nestling by the river Limmat, and I think you can probably see that looking at these images here in springtime and summertime, it's a really lovely destination to have some alfresco dining in the evening, perhaps to unwind after the relaxing day of travel and have a nice meal. Lots of regular local dishes that you can have, plenty of restaurants to choose from, and a time for a wander by the river in the evening as well. On the next slide, you can see a great shot of the Gotthard Pass. And this is the route that the trains will follow from Zurich heading down into Italy. Just take a moment to have a look at that scenery there. This is typical of some of the scenery that you can see along this route. Great alpine peaks, of course, lakes, and lots of small fairy tale villages and castles that the train will go past, nestled up in the alpine peaks, and it really is a breathtaking journey. Switzerland is famous for its train journeys, and I know probably lots of you have travelled on a great number of them, and this international journey as well is just as nice as many of the really famous names. It's got some wonderful scenery to enjoy. And then, of course, after this great journey, we've got a fantastic destination to look forward to, Venice. Just the history of Venice and the ambience, it really, I don't think, couldn't be anywhere else. It's just got its own unique atmosphere. And I think one of the things that I love about Venice is that, and anyone who's travelled by train there before will know, is that once you arrive at Santa Lucia station, you walk outside the station, and then you've got the beginnings of the Grand Canal in front of you. You can see the boats, gondolas, vaporetti. It's teeming with life, and just you really know that you've arrived straight away. And it's that real sense of arrival that you don't really get if you're travelling by air or by other means, because you just know you've arrived right in the heart of the destination straight away. It really is spectacular. And if you look at those pictures, ladies and gentlemen, you can just almost feel like you're being transported there. You just get a sense of the history and just the wonderful atmosphere straight away. It really is like nowhere else on earth, really. So, just a quick recap of what's included in this particular itinerary. We've got 5 nights accommodation, that's if you're travelling back by rail, 1 in Zurich, 3 in Venice, and 1 in Turin. All of the rail travel and reservations are included throughout, and of course we've got the option to fly back to London if you'd rather take the train one way and perhaps fly the other. That's really easy for us to arrange for you. And any of these rail journeys can be upgraded to first class if you'd like to upgrade any or all of them, perhaps to enjoy the scenery on the routes to the Gotthard Pass, or perhaps just for some extra space and legroom. Our team will be happy to talk through all of the options that are available to you. Okay, a slightly longer itinerary now. This one is a 9-day itinerary, once again starting in London, and then heading off to a different Swiss destination, one of my favourites, the charming lakeside town of Lucerne. And then after that, we have that stunning alpine journey to look forward to once again, before 2 nights in each of Venice, Florence and Rome. 3 very different cities, but all of which complement each other so well. And then time to head back to northwest Italy and have a night in Turin before taking the train back to London via Paris. So here we go. So for anyone who hasn't visited Lucerne before, here are some pictures for you. And as you can see here, it really is a great lakeside destination. This shot here that you can see is the Kapellbrücke, or Chapel Bridge, which is really famous. It's the oldest covered wooden bridge in Europe, and it's got some paintings actually that have remained intact, which date from the 17th century, so it's really something a bit special. And this great image that you can see here, all of this lakeside area is to be found just a short stroll from the train station. The actual town centre is pretty much car-free, and it's just a short stroll from the station to be right down by the lake. So a really nice place to start a holiday. You definitely feel like you're away. It doesn't really look like central London at all, does it, as you can see from the pictures. And there's some great restaurants to be found nearby, and just very relaxing, and some great opportunities to breathe in the Swiss mountain air as well. You can see the mountains in the backdrop, just nestling around the town of Lucerne. Really nice destination. Worth me mentioning as well that it's perfectly straightforward for us to add in an extra night if you'd like to spend more time in Lucerne, because it's really got lots to recommend it. It's a beautiful destination. So after leaving Lucerne, we have that wonderful journey through the Gotthard Pass that we looked at just a short moment ago. And then we arrive in Venice. Again, looking at the gondolas here, that reminds me that all of the excursions and points of interest that you might want to visit in Venice, whether it might be taking a gondola ride or perhaps a walking tour, which is a great way to orientate yourself and to get to know the city, all the fascinating back streets, as well as the St. Mark's Square and all the famous sites. Again, we can arrange any of those tours or excursions or sightseeing options that you might like to see. Also a chance perhaps to go to the island of Verona and see some glass blowing taking place. Lots of fascinating things that you can do in Venice, and it's really easy for us to add any of these excursions onto your holiday for you to make sure that you can experience everything that you'd like to. After leaving Venice, it's just a short train journey of no more than a couple of hours over to Florence. All of the 3 cities in this particular itinerary are connected by high-speed Italian rail. It's really, really comfortable and a very straightforward way of getting from city centre to city centre. And after leaving Venice, then you arrive in Florence. Just as beautiful in its own way. It's got some great Renaissance architecture. On the left, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the famous Duomo right in the centre of the city. And on the right-hand side, you can see the Ponte Vecchio, the really old bridge that's still got lots of businesses and shopkeepers at work if you stroll across there today, and really, really gets you right in the heart of the city centre. I think one of the things that I really like about Florence as a destination is that it's so walkable and easy to navigate. You don't really need to use public transport particularly to see most of the main sites, and it's really straightforward to walk around between them. There's loads of great open-air statues as well, and beautiful buildings to look at pretty much wherever you look. So easy to explore, and so much culture as well. Equally, if you'd like to arrange any excursions to go and see the nearby Leaning Tower of Pisa, or a trip to another town in Tuscany, such as Siena perhaps, then that's really easy for us to arrange as well. Very straightforward, and so much to explore in this part of Italy. An even shorter journey next, as we depart from Florence and head through to the Eternal City, Rome, the capital, of course. And again, there's just so much to see and do in this great city. We've got the Vatican, which you can see at the top of the images there, the remains of the Forum, of course, in the heart of the city. There's the famous Colosseum too. And on the left-hand side, you can see the Trevi Fountain. And for anyone who's not been to Rome before, legend says it's really important that you throw a coin into the fountain before you leave, because otherwise you might never get to go back. Whether it's a first-time visit or you've been many times, there's just so much to see in this particular city. So I think we'd all definitely like to have the chance to go back one day. So just a recap of what is included in this particular itinerary here. So we've got 8 nights hotel stay, all of the rail travel arranged in standard class with the appropriate reservations. Of course, there's the famous iconic route through the Gotthard Pass that we were talking about before. And of course, if you prefer to travel back from Rome, or maybe Turin by air rather than rail, it's perfectly straightforward for us to mix and match for you. Again, we can do rail travel or air travel to travel to and from Italy. Whichever you prefer, we can arrange it for you. Time for something slightly different now, with Verona and the Bernina Express. And this is another really famous and beautiful journey and a fantastic way to reach Italy. In fact, there's 2, or even 3, I should say, very scenic journeys in this holiday. So if you like your scenery from looking out of the train window, then this is an ideal itinerary. There's so much to see on this particular one. It's 8 days long, as you can see. It starts with a night in Zurich before 2 in Lugano. And then we head up to Chur for a night, the oldest town in Switzerland, over to Innsbruck, and then down for 2 nights in Verona before flying back to the UK. So Zurich, once again, is where we spend the first night here. Again, you can see some more shots of the old town by the River Limmat, this time in early evening by the looks of it here. And it's worth mentioning that all of our hotels in Zurich are really close to both the station and the old town. So really easy to get down here in the evening and have a wander around by the river and perhaps enjoy some of the local cuisine. There's lots and lots of restaurants all specializing in authentically traditional Swiss food. So absolutely very accessible indeed. And again, well worth, if time allows, adding in a night to see some more of Zurich, because it's a fascinating city with lots of great museums and places of interest. So the next spot on the itinerary is reached once again by the Gotthard Pass, and that's Lugano, which is technically in Switzerland. It's the largest town in Ticino, and it's a great mix of Swiss and Italian flavors, as the lake is kind of in between Switzerland and Italy. And you've also got a mix of the culture, the architecture, and of course the cuisine of both of those countries, and a mixture of languages spoken in this part of Switzerland. It really is a great relaxing destination and a perfect place to spend a couple of days. After leaving Lugano, it's a short journey on the Bernina Express bus to Tirano to catch the famous Bernina Express train, which we will take heading through north to Chur. This is, the entire route is a UNESCO World Heritage listed. It really is spectacular, everything from mountains and lakes, deep gorges, numerous viaducts, and the train has fantastic large panoramic windows, so wherever you're sat, you're guaranteed to have a fantastic view. It really is designed to make the most of the scenery. And just take a look at that picture on the top there. That's the famous Landwasser viaduct, that the Bernina Express crosses over on its way through to Chur. Another great shot of it here, actually, on the next slide you can see. Really is a very memorable journey indeed. And Chur itself is the oldest town in Switzerland. It's full of history. Not the largest town, but it's got so much to see. In fact, there's 2 archaeological sites in Chur. The old town is pretty much traffic-free once again and is dates from medieval times. And there's also a prehistoric settlement near the city too. And plenty of restaurants and galleries and museums and a really nice Mediterranean-style atmosphere. It's a really interesting place. Then, after leaving Chur, we head on to Innsbruck and over the Brenner Pass, which we'll be looking at very shortly, before arriving in Verona. And Verona, once again, is one of my favourite Italian destinations. Again, like Florence, part of the beauty of it, I think, is that, again, it's just such a walkable destination. There's lots and lots to see, so many fantastic, beautiful buildings, a lovely riverside location, as you can see from these pictures here as well. And of course, for any lovers of Shakespeare, famous for its connections with Romeo and Juliet, of course, you can even stand, if you'd like to, on the supposedly the famous balcony featured in that one of Shakespeare's plays, and of course 2 Gentlemen of Verona from this city as well. So lots and lots of history and culture in Verona. Right then, to recap on what's included here then, we've got 7 nights hotel stay in total. All of the rail travel and reservations are included. And we've got train travel on 3 great iconic routes here. We've got the Gotthard Pass that we've seen, the Brenner Pass, which we'll look at in a bit more detail in just a moment, and of course the Bernina Express. And you can see a picture of the Bernina Express train with those huge panoramic windows I was mentioning in the picture above. Everything finishes off with a flight from Verona back through to London. But if you'd like to travel back by rail, then of course we can do that too. And if you like the look of this itinerary, and perhaps some of the earlier ones, can you add a couple of nights in Venice at the end? Of course we could do that. And either fly back home from Venice or take the train, depending on your preference. Okay, so as I promised, it's time to look at the Brenner Pass in a little bit more detail. Slightly different holiday once again, this time incorporating Germany, Austria and Italy. It's a 7-night affair, as you can see from the map here. This starts off with a flight through to Munich and then connecting rail travel through the Brenner Pass down to Innsbruck in Austria and then down to Verona before flying back to the UK. But once again, and it's the same for every holiday that you'll see here and on our website too, if you'd like to travel by rail whenever you see a flight, of course you can do that, whatever you prefer. It's very, very straightforward for us to arrange travel to Munich or from Verona by rail for you. So Munich is the first destination, and again, so much history and culture in this wonderful German city. It's the capital of Bavaria, of course. You can see on this picture a view down to, I think, the Marienplatz in the center of the city. Lots and lots of history, and of course, home of the famous Oktoberfest. If you'd like to try a drop of the local brew while you're there, you can head down to the famous Hofbrauhaus, where they have beer available in all sizes of receptacles, from small glasses to the huge steins for the more adventurous of you. And then there's umpire music playing in the background as well. So very, very atmospheric and a very enjoyable way to spend an evening. And a great recommendation for the morning after the night before is having a stroll around the Englischer Garten. It's a wonderful parkland area in the city centre. Very, very beautiful. Lots of great scenery and nice to stroll around with an ice cream in the summer as well. Also in Munich, if you'd like to stay an extra night, it's really easy and recommended to visit the Neuschwanstein Castle, which is a beautiful fairy tale castle just a little bit outside the city centre. So maybe you would recommend an extra night to take that in as well. But it's well worth having on, as it's a fascinating place to visit. Next, after heading down the Brenner Pass, we reach Innsbruck in the heart of the Tyrol. And as you can see, nestled in between those great alpine peaks that you can see in the 2 pictures there, just take a look at those two images. It really is a beautiful destination, and very much contrasting to Munich, but also complementing it, I think, really well. Innsbruck has hosted the Winter Olympics twice, and you can really get a sense of that by looking at those two pictures. It really is, once again, a really walkable destination, very easy to explore on foot, and great sense of history throughout as well. So this is the Brenner Pass that we mentioned a short time ago, and again, just to show you some images here so we can look at it in a bit more detail, just take a little look. It really is, once again, some stunning mountain scenery. Again, lots of mountains, lakes, even more small churches and really small villages dotted about in the hills and mountains as you pass. And it's just a beautiful way of travelling between Germany, Italy, and Austria. It really is very, very scenic indeed. And then Verona is where we end up at the end of this particular journey. As I mentioned, a very, very beautiful walkable destination. Another thing Verona is famous for, of course, is the opera. And if there are any opera buffs out there, then we can definitely look at arranging opera tickets also, if you'd like to take in some time at the opera whilst in Verona. They often have lots of events, particularly in spring and summer at the large arena in the city centre. Very historic venue and lots of atmosphere. It's a really enjoyable evening. So this one includes 6 nights hotel accommodation. As I mentioned, it does include air travel from London to Munich and back from Verona, but of course that can be train travel if you prefer, and all of your rail travel and seat reservations are included. And it's really wonderful scenery throughout, as I think that image on the screen there illustrates. It's a really, really beautiful journey. So we looked at some different scenic journeys, but of course there's one journey that's absolutely perfect for that special occasion. And if you'd like to travel to Italy in style and see some wonderful scenery, then there's nothing better than the iconic Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. This particular journey takes 5 days, starting in London on the famous carriages of the British Pullman, heading down to Folkestone, and then a quick transfer over to Calais before boarding the famous carriages of the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express, heading on to Paris, where some people leave the train, and then heading on down through France, and then next morning through Switzerland for some fantastic alpine scenery on the way to Venice. And then we finish the journey with a flight back to the UK. So here's some shots of the famous train heading through that wonderful Swiss countryside. As you can see here, the train passes the three-castle town of Bellinzona, and then also goes past the lakes of Lucerne, Como, there's glimpses of Lake Lugano and Chiasso as well, and plenty of mountains as well. It's really beautiful scenery that you'll see on day 2 of this particular journey, and then eventually the mountains give way to vineyards in Italy as we head through to Verona and then on to Venice. It's such a wonderful, luxurious way of doing this particular journey, and if someone you know is celebrating a special occasion, then it's a lovely way to head over to Italy to celebrate that in style. So for those of you who'd like to know what it's like on board, here's a couple of pictures that illustrate that. These are some shots of a cabin on board the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. On the left-hand side, you'll see that's the daytime setup, and on the right-hand side, it's set up for the evening. So it's very, very comfortable during the day, and then what happens is, whilst you're enjoying dinner in the evening, you have a very attentive cabin steward who looks after your every requirement on board the train, and whilst you're enjoying dinner, he will make up the cabin for you. So when you return, it will look like it does on the right-hand side, all set up ready for the evening. If you'd like to have even more space and comfort, you can actually upgrade to a cabin suite. And what that is it's 2 of these cabins connected together by a private doorway. So you can either have one cabin set up for day and one for the evening throughout, or you can just have both cabins set up for the evening or nighttime, depending on the time of day, throughout the entire journey. whatever you prefer, nothing is too much trouble for the staff on board the train. They really do go out of their way to make it a once-in-a-lifetime experience for everyone who travels on board. And of course, one of the most famous parts of the journey, and rightly so, is the food on board. The food is absolutely wonderful. It's all cooked on board, lots of the finest ingredients possible. And for the evening meal, there are 2 sittings that take place. And what happens is your steward will ask you which sitting you would prefer to eat at. Everyone who's disembarking in Paris will be on the first sitting, and then everybody else can decide if they'd like the earlier or the later one. And hopefully you can see from the pictures, it really is very, very beautifully presented, the highest standards of service, and it really is a wonderful atmosphere. And either pre or post dinner, or both if you prefer, the bar car is the social hub of the train. Here you can see the piano bar with the pianist at work, and as you can see here, everyone has really made the most of the occasion and dressed up in 1920s style, black ties and cocktail dresses, and it really is a wonderful moment. It's like stepping back in time. It really is, as harking back to the golden days of train travel, and it really is a very, very special once-in-a-lifetime occasion. It's also worth me pointing out that it's not too noisy. The bar car is slightly separated from the other cabins where people will be sleeping, so the noise of people chatting or the piano playing is not disturbing at all during the evening. And then we've got, after a wonderful journey, we've got a fantastic, iconic destination at the end of it all. And I think this is just such a great combination of traveling in style and then a wonderful destination to explore and enjoy at the end of the journey. If you travel with us on the Orient Express over to Venice, then there's a transfer included to your hotel also. And if you've not done that before, that's a really wonderful journey by water taxi, by boat, through the canals to the closest docking bay to your hotel. And there's plenty of opportunity to take some wonderful pictures and maybe some video recordings of the journey as well. Really is memories that you'll treasure forever, and it's just not like arriving in any other destination at all. So, just to recap on this very special journey, we have 2 nights hotel stay, and 1 night, of course, is on board the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. Meals are included on board the train with that transfer to your hotel, which I mentioned just a moment ago, and then we finish up with a flight back from Venice to London. Although, as I'm sure you understand now, as I've mentioned it several times today, if you'd rather travel back by train, of course we can arrange that for you. So if you don't like to fly, or perhaps would prefer to travel back on regular scheduled services as a comparison point to the Orient Express, then of course we can arrange that too. So there we go. That's an introduction to some of the fantastic ways that you can approach Italy by train. Lots of great scenic options, and really the most beautiful way imaginable to visit this wonderful country. So I hope you've enjoyed having a look at all of those different itineraries, and I would like to pass you back to Sarah.
Thank you very much, Matt. That was absolutely fantastic. It was great hearing about some of those inspiring ways that you can travel through to Italy via the Alps. All of them different, but each just as scenic as the one before it. So just bear with me for a few more minutes now. Obviously, you know who we are, you know where we go now. We can organise trips for you all over Europe, any of the ones you've heard in this presentation. We also go to the USA and Canada and much, much more as well. You've seen a few of the scenic rail journeys that we offer through the Alps to Italy, but there's so many scenic rail journeys across the world that we can organise for you. 50 breaks if you don't have so much time. It was great hearing about the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express and that. We really, really do love those private little luxury train journeys. Rail and sail, as we said before, to include a cruise, lakes and mountains, as I'm sure your interest will be very peaked in those at the moment, and coast-to-coast USA and Canada. Again, bucket list trips, really, really inspiring journeys. And I cannot stress to you enough, ladies and gentlemen, Now is a great time to be booking your holidays for 2017. We really want to make sure that we can get the best prices and the best availability for you. So 2017 holidays are really popular at the moment. You can see a few of our top destinations that our customers are really, really interested in at the moment. Italy, of course, but also Scandinavia, really great to explore by rail. The USA and Canada, Switzerland, we've seen some great Swiss cities and towns in Matt's presentation today, but there are loads more, and Germany is always really popular, so much variety to see in that amazing country. We'll just chat to you about some of our really, really popular holidays. Berlin, Prague, Vienna and Budapest are really top choice with our customers at the moment. It's a great way to see four all equally amazing but very different capital cities of Europe. The train journeys in this holiday are just a dream. It's so comfortable, so quick, a great way of linking these cities. You've got Berlin, if you've not visited, it just feels like you are wandering through a history textbook. Really quirky city, but with so much history around every corner. Prague, you can see an image of that amazing city here, the spires there. It does have the nickname the City of 100 Spires, and the skyline is just woven with them. It's really, really beautiful. Vienna, a great contrasting point with its grandiose architecture, the opera, just absolutely indulgent destination. And Budapest, if you've not visited Budapest, it really is one of my favorite cities in the whole world. Just so much to see and do, really can't recommend it enough. If you fancy getting away for the summer, or perhaps just getting a bit of sunshine in the cold English January, February time, I completely understand that. Madrid and Andalusia is really popular with our customers at the moment. We can fly you in and out of Madrid. Equally, that's a great route by train if you've got the time to spare, a perfect way to get to Madrid. And then head down to the south of Spain. Check out the amazing Alhambra in Granada. The Mezquita in Cordoba, a really, really wonderful city to stroll around. And Seville as well. I'm sure Seville's reputation precedes it. It's orange groves, flamenco dancing, sangria, everything you've heard about Spain in one just incredibly friendly, beautiful, walkable city. Our Scandinavian Grand Tour, I was lucky enough to do this journey myself 2 years ago now. Really, really big fan of it. The train from Germany to Denmark actually still boards one of Europe's last boat trains, which is just quite an exquisite experience in itself if you're a fan of train travel. Spend 2 nights in Copenhagen, every bit the fairy tale city. Move on to Gothenburg, which if you've not been or not considered going, really, really great, laid-back harbour-side city with beautiful canals, often called the Venice of the North, and great for foodies as well. Loads of Michelin star restaurants and quirky cuisine. It's quite famous for that. Move on to Norway and to Oslo, which is the home of the Nobel Peace Center. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a museum where you can see a full Viking ship, loads of really interesting things to do. And Stockholm, of course, the Swedish capital, probably needs no introduction, but again, just a great place to explore. Visit the archipelago, take a boat trip. It's really, really wonderful. And no mention of wonderful train journeys, of course, would be complete without mentioning Canada. And this is one of our favorite journeys that loads of our customers, we just get such amazing feedback on this. Canada coast to coast, starting on the east coast in Halifax, explore those French-speaking regions, really historic Quebec City and Montreal, take a trip to Toronto, really cosmopolitan environment. Of course, we'll include a trip to Niagara Falls for you because you really, you know, it's absolutely should be on everybody's bucket list to just stand and admire those amazing waterfalls. And then is the really exciting bit if you are rail fans like we are. 3 nights on Via Rail, speeding across Canada. The scenery is absolutely magnificent. It's going to change from prairie flats to huge rocky mountain peaks, you know, really competing with anything that Switzerland has to offer. You can see in that picture there, glacial lakes and snow-dusted peaks. absolutely gorgeous scenery. Spend 2 nights in Jasper would just take your breath away. A trip to Banff National Park, and end your journey in Vancouver, a really cosmopolitan city on the west coast which gets great weather year-round. And another holiday that we are really excited about here at Rail because it's really growing in popularity is the Polish Explorer, a trip to 5 equally fantastic Polish cities, real hidden gems here, some great architecture to unearth, impressive cuisine, and really just completely friendly cities with so much to offer that perhaps you haven't visited before, but we really can't recommend enough. Fly in and out of Warsaw, but if you'd like to do that by train, what an amazing journey across Western and Central Europe that would be. Visit Gdansk, Poznan, Wrocław, and end your trip in Krakow before flying back from Warsaw, a really popular destination at the moment. Okay, so that's it from me. We're really, really excited to announce our winner, who's going to get £50 off their next rail holiday, and you can use that towards absolutely anything with us that you like. Just have a look at our website, or obviously one of the packages that Matt has suggested just now. And our winner today is Kathy Marshall. So thank you very much, Kathy, for staying with us and for sitting with us on this webinar. We hope that you've really enjoyed your experience. Thank you very much. We will be in touch with you about all the details of this, so just stay tuned and we'll be in contact with you. And for everybody else, as promised, there will be £25 off your next rail holiday with us. All you have to do is book by the 30th of November 2016 and just quote that code RB Webinar NOV, so Rail Because Webinar November, and we will apply that discount for you very happily. And Kathy, you can use that discount as well, completely combinable with your prize too. But how do you book? That is a great question. Please do give one of our travel consultants a ring, 0203 780 2382. We are ready and waiting to take your calls now, or whenever you're ready to book your next holiday by rail. And that's all there is to say. Is thank you so much for joining us. We've really enjoyed speaking to you about these routes to Italy via the Alps. And we've had an absolute abundance of questions. So thank you so much for taking the time to ask us all of these. Some great questions from Matt that I'll pass on. Sorry that we're not going to have a chance to answer all of the questions we've been asked today, but don't worry, somebody will be in contact with you. Okay, so let me pick one. We've got a question from John, who says, can I take the train down to the south of Italy as well? Do the trains go down that far?
Hi John, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for your question. The answer to that is yes, you certainly can. It's possible to go just about anywhere in Italy by train, and any of the journeys that we've seen today that you've looked at, if you'd like to go a little bit further south at the end, perhaps after visiting Venice, Florence and Rome, heading down to Sorrento, perhaps on the Amalfi Coast, that's perfectly possible to do, very, very straightforward and easy for us to add on to any of the journeys that you've seen today. You can even go as far south as Sicily. Again, as Sarah mentioned this before, there's a boat train, so the train is actually taken on board the boat at the Straits of Messina and then gets off in Sicily, the other end, and actually then splits in two, and half goes one way and half goes the other way. So the answer is yes, it's definitely very, very easy for us to add on some southern Italian destinations to any of these journeys that we've looked at today.
Fantastic, yeah, absolutely, very possible to do by rail. We've got another question from Rick, who said, how far ahead can I book these? I'm thinking about late next summer.
Thanks, Rick, and thanks for joining us today too. The answer to that is you can book all the way through next year and also into early 2018 as well. It really is a really popular destination, Italy, as I'm sure everybody knows. That's not news to anyone. And at popular times, it's always best to book as far ahead as you can. So whenever you know where you'd like to go, please do give us a call. We're happy to look at arranging all of your requirements for your forthcoming trip to Italy next year. So you can book as far ahead as any point next year and early 2018 as well.
Absolutely, you can. And what would be some places that you'd recommend that for travel in the summertime? Italy is a great summer holiday destination.
That's right, yes. I certainly recommend all of the destinations that we've seen today. If you'd like somewhere else, as one of our previous questions mentioned, where else can you go further down south? I think Sorrento is a lovely destination on the Amalfi Coast. And two of my personal favourites that we've looked at today, well, Venice is unique, as I mentioned before, but I really do love Verona. It's got lots of charm, lots of history, and it's very, very walkable. And Florence is like that too. I'm going to start naming them all at the moment, so I'll probably just stop there. But they're wonderful destinations, and a lot of them actually. I can see we've got another question from Mike, I think, who's asking when's a good time of year to go to avoid the crowds, and that's a really good question. September and October are probably some of the very busiest times. July and August can be quite busy as well. So springtime is a really nice time to go, and it's not quite as busy. And in fact, the first time I went to Venice was actually January, and I was stood on St. Mark's Square with a handful of other people and some pigeons. So it was really very, very quiet and a completely different experience from the next time I visited, which was at the height of summer, and it wasn't too cold. So if you don't like the heat particularly, then it's a really nice destination to go in the early part of the year too. And of course, there's the famous carnival in February too. So lots of different times that you can enjoy all of these destinations also.
Fantastic. And do we have time for one more question, Max? I've just seen a question from Benjamin that I think is a really good question and certainly mentions one of my favourite places in Italy. He said, do the trains run all the way to the coastal regions? He's considering, I think, a trip to the Cinque Terre or to Positano. Can we take people there by train?
Yeah, we can visit all of these destinations. All of the Italian lakes are very, very accessible by rail. We can combine them with the city centre destinations too. So, for example, if you'd like to visit Venice or Verona and perhaps Lake Garda or Lake Como, very, very straightforward to do. Or perhaps you just fancy relaxing by the lake for a couple of days, and that's equally easy for us to arrange. The Cinque Terre, yes, that's very, very easy to get to by rail and perfect to explore that particular area as well. Very well, all the villages are very easily connected by rail. And it's very easy to visit. And going further down to the Amalfi Coast area as well, not all of those destinations have train stations, but you can go as far as Sorrento, and then we can travel on to all of the other destinations very easy, just a short taxi or transfer journey away. So very, very straightforward to do.
Fantastic, absolutely. And of course, we know from this presentation the best way to get to any of these destinations is going to be via one of these amazing alpine journeys to really make the journey part of your holiday. So that's it from us. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really, really pleased to have had this opportunity to chat to you about these train routes. It's been great fun, and we hope that you've all learned something as well. And we really look forward to hearing from you about your holiday plans. So thank you very much from me.
And thank you very much from me.
Thank you.